If you are a real estate agent or business owner tired of endless phone calls, imagine this: a fully automated AI phone agent that handles inquiries, answers questions, and even books appointments so you never have to take a call manually again. Here's a quick demo from later in the video. Hey, I was just looking to get some more info on the property at Maple Grove. I'd like to book an appointment for tomorrow, maybe 10 a.m. if that's possible.
Oh, for sure. The Maple Grove property is priced at $350,000. It's got 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a finished basement, and a big backyard with a deck.
Without automation, you're stuck juggling calls, missing opportunities, or sacrificing valuable time that could be spent growing your business. In this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to build an AI phone agent specifically designed for real estate agents. This agent will handle incoming property inquiries and seamlessly book appointments for potential clients. I've created AI voice agents for a variety of industries, from real estate, home services, travel, and I've seen firsthand how they can transform businesses by saving time. So here's the plan. We're gonna start off by creating the instructions for the voice assistant. Then next, we'll connect a calendar system to ensure smooth scheduling. And then finally, we're gonna test the agent to see how it performs against complex inquiries. So jumping right into building this agent, this right here is Retell AI, and this is gonna be the main platform where we're gonna connect all of the elements for the voice agent together and build everything right here. So if you haven't yet seen Retell, done anything on the Retell platform, I've got many other videos covering how to build these agents on this platform and other platforms as well. And they really just gives you a good amount of understanding as to how to build these agents. But in this video, we're going to be creating a specific agent for real estate agents. So to get started in doing that, go ahead and create your account in Retell. And all you're going to do is go up to the create an agent button in the top right. And we're just going to click on the single prompt agent. And this is going to take us straight into a platform where we can build our entire agent. So once you've done that, you're going to land on this page right here, which is our main agent creation platform. We can go ahead and just change this to whatever we want to be named. We can just call this the real estate agent. And within this main hub, this is where we're going to provide everything to do with structuring the assistant in both its flow, in all the settings, and configuring its voice, its language, its AI model, and things like that. We can do everything right here. One of the first things that I like to do when building out an agent is actually placed in one of my templates that I use for all the builds and for getting started in building these agents. So what you'll notice right here in this big box, which is the prompt set, the system prompt, or the instructions, a few different names for it, but this is where we just build and sort of talk to the agent. And what I like to do is just paste this in right here, which is just a set of instructions to base your prompt off in sort of phase 1 of creating an agent. So this structure gives us a really good outline for how to build the agent from the start. And so what we'll see here is the role, the task, specifics, context, the business, what we do, and notes. So to go through what that actually means, all we're doing is just structure our prompt with a set of headlines. So we're saying the role is going to be the first headline. So for the role, we're really just building out the personality for it. So we're building out the personality for our agent. And in this case, we're building out a real estate receptionist, or sort of somebody that handles property inquiries and things like that. That's who they are. And so that's what we're going to build into our role section. And so these are just sections, and these are headings for our section. What you'll see here as well with this hashtag is this is using Markdown formatting. So one thing you might not know is that OpenAI trained all of its knowledge and all of its data using Markdown formatting. So it really does well in looking at Markdown formatting to understand how responses and inputs are structured. And that's a really good way to do it like this. So you can see here, this one hashtag just sets itself as sort of like a heading one you can think of as sort of a main title. And then below this, we can put in the further information related to it. So in this case, we're going to say you are Emily, an AI digital receptionist for Blue Real Estate. Your role is to communicate with callers inquiring about our properties. It's really basic out of the gate, just saying you are Emily, an AI digital receptionist for Blue Real Estate. Your role is to communicate with callers inquiring about our properties. So just giving it a brief understanding of its name, its purpose, the company it works for, and essentially the objective of its existence, which is to communicate with callers inquiring about their properties, or maybe something different. But we'll get to refining this later. Obviously, this is really about phase 1, building out the prompt, obviously continuing on, doing testing, and then iterating over this over time. The next part of our prompt is the task. So this is really drilling into the specifics of what we're trying to achieve. So in this case, we really want to communicate the specific set of objectives within this call that we want to achieve. So in our case, all we want to do is something more simple, which is just inquire about the properties and answer questions about properties, as well as booking appointments. So they're the 2 main things we want to do. We want to help answer any questions about the particular properties that we have on offer. And then we want to obviously get them into booking an appointment or transferring a call to somebody on the team. That's what we're going to build in here. So for the task, the first thing that I can throw in here is just detailing the first task. So one of the tasks we can essentially just map out as answering the questions. So we'll say your first task is to answer any questions that come from the caller. Please use the information provided to help answer these questions. Your second task is to help book appointments for those interested in our properties. So your task is to answer any questions from the caller. Please use the information provided to answer these questions. Your second task is to help book appointments for those interested in our properties. So just really basic outlining exactly which of the two tasks it's going to have to deal with. And the two main tasks that it has to reach an objective for, obviously it needs to answer a real question with a real response from the contact we provided it with. And then for the second task, we obviously need to book an appointment using a function that'll set up now. So to set up the booking appointments function in retail, it's actually quite simple. All we need to do is just set up a Cal.com account. So Cal.com is similar to Calendly. If you use Calendly or a different booking system, it just allows us to easily connect into things like Google Calendar and Outlook using sort of a third-party provider. So if we just look at the top here, we'll see functions. Functions is how we're able to interact with third-party applications and just run a set of automations outside of the main sort of system prompt. So what you'll see here are a bunch of different functions that we can run. These are sort of the preset functions, so ending the call transfers, checking calendar availabilities, booking on the calendar, etc. We can do all these different things that they've got preset. So out of the gate, we can just click on book on the calendar, which is what we're going to use. And you'll see here, it just needs a few things to set up the Cal.com integration. And so all we're going to do is go to Cal.com, we're going to get an API key, and we're going to get an event type ID as well, and then we'll be done. So jumping over to Cal.com, just go ahead and sign up for an account. It is completely free. If you want to just run sort of one calendar event, you don't need multiple calendars with different types of calendars and different team members. The free version will work perfectly fine for your agent at the start. And all you need to do is create the account. It'll set up a bunch of events here automatically. So you don't have to create any events if you don't want to. Obviously, if you need to create a custom one, you can do so. Otherwise, I'll just use the ones that it's generated here. What we're going to do first is click into one of our events that it's created for us. And what we're going to see at the top here, you might not be able to see, it's actually off the screen, but what you'll see in the domain URL is actually the event type ID. So I'll just come back here, event type ID, that's what it wants. So if you go up to the domain, you'll see the number next to event types in the URL, and you can simply just paste that in there and it will connect directly to that event type. On Cal.com, you just need to go to your API section. So you can go down to the settings and it'll just take you to your profile. You just go down to API keys and it'll take you to this section here. We'll just click on add and create a new API key. So in this case, I can just type YouTube and I can just turn on never expires. That makes it more convenient. Hit the save button and it will generate a key for me. Copy that key, pretty simple to generate that, and you can just paste that key right there. So now that key is connected to our event type and all the events on our platform, and that's ready to go. That's all done there. The time zone as well, you will need to change. It's currently set to America, Los Angeles. You can set that to whatever time zone you need, but for the most part, that's completely fine. We'll just hit save. The next part of this template is to go into the specifics. Now, because this is a bit more of a simpler prompt where we're just answering questions and booking appointments, the specifics is not something that's really required within this particular prompt. If we were to maybe run through a set of qualification questions before making the booking, and we wanted to make sure that those questions were all completely answered and capturing information on all of them, we probably would want to throw that into the specific section, because we would essentially just say, more specifically, please capture information related to the budget that they're looking for, the location they're looking for, and things like that. But obviously, I'm just keeping this a bit more streamlined, so we wouldn't necessarily need that. So to connect this function into our prompt, we now need to actually reference our function with this. So what we need to say is run the book appointment function. So you'll see up here, it's got a name assigned to it with the function. So if we just copy that right there, we can just simply type in the prompt to book an appointment, please run the, and we'll just put that in quotations as well, book appointment function. So now it's connected, it knows what the function it needs to run, and it's got the context already built into it to know what the function is and how to do that. So we'll do that all automatically. You don't have to configure anything for that, which is great. You simply just tell it to do it and it'll do it for you. And just before we make the appointment booking, we will probably have to ask them exactly when they want to book in for. And we can do this by simply, once again, just asking the AI to ask the caller for the specific date and time we'd like to book for. So your second task is to help book appointments for those interested in our properties. Please then ask them which date and time works best for them. And then essentially that's good to go. That'll lead straight into, once that is collected, we could just say, please book an appointment, and then use the book appointment function. Now, one thing to note when actually building out these systems for clients and building out a more robust system that can handle all the different edge case scenarios that comes through when people call these systems is actually getting the real or current live date and time in the system. So this current setup isn't getting the date and time with a live date and time in it. What it's doing is essentially just taking the date and time that they're asking to book for and booking for that. So if somebody comes through and says, I'd like to book for tomorrow, or they'd like to book for next Wednesday, tomorrow afternoon, things like that, it doesn't have the best context for understanding exactly when tomorrow is, or what day tomorrow is, or what time tomorrow afternoon is. It doesn't really have that context. And so what you'll want to do is actually create a function for getting the exact live date and time in. And this is obviously going to be a bit more of a custom function, but what you need to do is click on the add button and then go down to custom function. And what you'll see here is a bunch of settings for sending out a webhook, which is a custom sort of request for information through a different platform. And so what I'll typically do is build out a make automation to get the current date and time in. So just quickly, this is make.com, which is an automations platform similar to Zapier, pretty much as a competing platform that does the same thing. And this is essentially running a step-by-step automation process. So we'll send through a custom webhook from retail that'll come through here. And this will trigger our automation to get a piece of data sent back to retail using the webhook response. So it's a very simple concept. Send a request to get info, process the info, and send it back to the platform that we're requesting it from. In this case, retail, of course. And in the middle here, I've essentially just got some modules that allow us to get the date and time. So this is actually a live automation that I built for one of my clients. And this is doing something a little bit different than just checking the date and time. As you'll see, it's got an OpenAI step in there as well. But very simply, all we need to do is just use something called the now function, which is the current date and time in make.com. And we can also just format this as a date. So we'll get the year, month, day, current hour in a 12-hour format. We can do that all using some make.com variables. So this is how we would do it to get that current date and time. And then we can send that back in a webhook response. In the case for this particular client, I've actually got an OpenAI step in there as well, because this is actually going to be doing something even additional to this, which is actually understanding whether or not it's within business hours or outside of business hours. And so they've actually got a bit of a complex condition for understanding whether or not it's within or without business hours. In their particular use case, we've actually used an AI step to determine that in this case, but not necessarily required for each booking automation. But if you do have a very specific opening hours, you can also use a ChatGPT step to do that as well. But once again, once you pull back that data into retail and you get that custom set of data as to whether or not it's available for booking, then you can do a whole bunch of other function automations. So essentially we'll pull back the current day and time. Once we understand the day and time, somebody can call through and say, yeah, I'd love to book for tomorrow. Is that all right? Then the check time will run, understand, okay, yes, you can book for tomorrow, and that's okay to do that as well. So you can see there's quite a few different ways that we can approach this, from obviously booking appointments and making it more and more complex to handle that type of an edge case where somebody doesn't just say December 18th, they'd like to book for tomorrow. And that's one of the ways that we would handle that through there. Obviously, we can also do a check calendar availability here as well. So this is something you will want to do as well. So this is a way that we can essentially offer available time. So if somebody says they want to book for tomorrow at 2 p.m. and it tries to book that and finds that it can't, what it will do is run this as a fallback. So it will run check calendar availability to go and say, okay, well, it wasn't available at 2 p.m., but we are available at 2:30 or 3:30. We are available at those times. Would any of those work? And this is a really great way we can do that. So very simple to essentially the other function we just did. All we need to do is just get the API key and the event type ID for that particular event, and then it will just start working. So essentially we will need to function that into the prompt as well. So we just need to say, if the appointment was not booked successfully, please run the check calendar availability function and then pull back some recent times and offer that to the user to book again. Moving on to the next part of our prompt, it's context. So this is context on the business and what the business does. And so in this case, this is where we're just uploading information about the company, information about opening hours or team members, or just any information about the business. So for this case, obviously this is a sort of a fake business use case, but I'll just paste in this ChatGPT generated summary that sort of mimics exactly what you would want to include in this section. In this case, Blue Real Estate is a dynamic real estate agency known for an innovative approach, blah, 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 just random sort of jargon thrown in there, but you get the point. Sort of just giving it some context. And this is both great for obviously the customer that's calling in and asks any questions about the agency. You obviously can pull that information from here, but also it's really great for the assistant to get an understanding from. So the assistant obviously just gets more context and understanding as to who it's working for and what its purpose is, and it can get that right from here, and that will just make its responses far better and more aligned with exactly what you're looking for in a real estate receptionist. So that's what you can expect for here. So definitely put in as much detail as you can in this case. So in this case, for what we do, Blue Real Estate offers a comprehensive suite of services tailored to assist clients in navigating blah, 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 selling properties, market analysis, property valuation, etc. And you can see that this is the part of the sort of context that it would pull from for answering any questions related to services. And you can see that that's exactly how we're able to get that thrown in there. Obviously, if we want to now do the properties, what we can do is customize this to add in another heading for properties. So if we did properties, I create a new heading called our properties. And so this is aligned with still within context for our properties. So this is going to be essentially our list of properties that the business has on hand that we want to include for pulling through in the knowledge base. So if somebody comes through and says that they're interested in 123 Main Street, it's going to pull from this particular part of the prompt to answer questions about 123 Main Street. Now, please note that this is sort of the first stage in building this type of solution. So if you're a real estate agency that obviously has properties coming in and out, there are many different ways to approach this. So if you want to, you can obviously build out the agent completely within the prompt here and obviously type in 123 Main Street and have all your different properties essentially listed out in here. And this is sort of the manual way to store this data. It is probably the most reliable way to do this and to store the information here. But obviously, depending on how many properties you have, the more effective that this is or isn't. So if you've got a very large amount of properties, this may not be as effective in terms of scaling the system. But obviously, with a lesser amount of properties, just putting it in the knowledge base can be quite effective. So in this case, I'm just going to type out all the information related to the properties just in the prompt here. And essentially, this is the manual way of doing it. Now, if you did want to actually take this a step further, what you could do is actually create a custom database with a search function, which just means we would create a custom function right here, which would trigger to a Make.com automation, a custom server with a custom webhook to look at bits of information from a database. So if you've got your current real estate property management software, where you've got all of your properties that are live updating within there, we could plug directly into that. So we could essentially plug directly into that database and run a bit of a search function as you will, which would be somebody's got a particular question about a property. We would just ask them a series of questions about that. So we would capture the exact address they're looking for, and we would run a search function to your database of properties and then retrieve all the information related to that property and then give that to the user, of course. But obviously that's a much more complex function that requires a bit more to be built out in that case. So that's the sort of two different ways that this can be built, whether that's all within the prompt and manually handled through there, or directly connected to a property management system. I can obviously pull through all of those properties live when it needs to. So two different options there, but both are definitely possible. So once again, just went ahead and generated a bunch of property data to throw into here. So you can see here, we've just structured it like location, price, features, amenities, etc. with obviously the address there, downtown Chicago. Here's the price, here's the features, here's the amenities, whatever, just a bit of random information to help the AI get an understanding of what to give the user when calling it. So this is one way we can structure it. Obviously, as you continue to test this system, as you continue to call it and go through several weeks of testing like we do at our agency, obviously a lot of the structure will change. So this is not sort of a structure that I would say 100% go ahead and follow this. As you call it, as you test it, you will start to see areas where you may want to change the way you've sort of structured it. Maybe including bits of information or removing bits of information can change how effective and reliable the system is. But for the most part, this is a good start, and we'll give this a test to see how it goes. And just lastly, to get this assistant up and running, just at the bottom here, you will see that we can do a begin message. So I'll just click on the last one. AI begins with your defined begin message. And you can just type out a message for it to initiate. So in this case, this is an inbound receptionist. So somebody's calling in. If somebody calls in at the moment, it's just going to say, hello, how can I help you today? Obviously, you can make that whatever you want, but in this case, we'll keep it basic. And just lastly, before I run some test calls, I'm just going to throw in a bit of a prompt that I like to use to really just enhance the conversational experience with these voice agents, which really helps to make it a bit more human-like, as I like to think. When I throw it in here, this is essentially something that helps make it a bit more natural or less robotic or less formal in a sense. So obviously this is a sort of opinionated thing. It's not something that everybody should include with every bot. Obviously, if you want to change its personality, you will need to change this in this case, but I've just added this in, which says, when generating responses, aim for a casual and conversational tone. Think of how you might talk to a friend. So in this case, it's very, as you can see here, relaxed. It's informal language. So it's obviously using a bit more natural language, I like to think. So if I just save that, we can see how that performs.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hey, I was just looking for some more information on your Maple Grove property.
Oh yeah, sure. The Maple Grove property is priced at $350,000. It's got 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, and even a finished basement. The backyard is pretty awesome to its large and comes with a deck, perfect for hanging out or hosting. As for amenities, there's a 2-car garage, and it's super close to parks and schools, which is great if you've got kids or just love the outdoors. Anything specific you want to know about it?
So there you go. That's just a sample of one response there. And as you can see, there's already things that we need to start improving on and changing with this assistant. So obviously at my agency, we run weeks and weeks of testing at a very base level to obviously get these assistants up and running to a standard that is obviously good enough to converse with. And in that case, something like we saw there with when I was talking about the particular bathrooms. So it said 2.5 bathrooms. Obviously, you wouldn't necessarily say that. You'd say there's 2.5 bathrooms. Obviously, actually, I don't even know why there is 2.5 bathrooms. That doesn't really make any sense. I just ChatGPT generated anyway. But once again, something to fix. Obviously, probably shouldn't say 2.5 bathrooms. But in the case of how it pronounced that for other areas, maybe that's the price. You wouldn't say 2.5 million. I mean, you could, It equals to say 2.5 million. So the pronunciations like that are things that can be changed and can be fixed in these prompts, and are things that you need to look out for when building these prompts.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hey, I was just looking to get some more info on the property at Maple Grove. I'd like to book an appointment for tomorrow, maybe 10 a.m. if that's possible.
Oh, for sure. The Maple Grove property is priced at $350,000. It's got 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a finished basement, and a big backyard with a deck. Plus, there's a 2-car garage, and it's super close to parks and schools. It's a great spot, and yeah, I can totally book you in for tomorrow at 10 a.m. Can I grab your name and email real quick to lock it in?
Yeah, John Smith with johnsmith@gmail.com.
All right, John, you're all set for your appointment at 10 a.m. tomorrow to check out the Maple Grove property. Looking forward to it. Awesome, John. Your appointment is all booked for tomorrow at 10 a.m. to see the Maple Grove property. If you need anything else, just let me know. See you then.
So there we go. That is a couple of conversations there with the agent and how it's able to respond quite naturally and quite conversely, quite friendly as well. Obviously, there are many different areas where we can improve it with obviously the speed, slow it down a bit, speed it up a bit, add some more spacings in the conversation, all things that's just to do with prompt engineering and obviously changing up the way that it pronounces these things. But as you can see there, just from asking it to book that appointment at 10 a.m., head over to my cal.com event here, and this just popped up now. So you can see 30-minute meeting with myself and John Smith for tomorrow at 10 a.m. So even without the check time availability, it is able to book these appointments in with an understanding of the time through cal.com, of course. But just to make it more reliable, you can obviously add in that other automation for really confirming it. But as you can see there, that worked smoothly to book that appointment. You do need to make sure that your time zone is set to the right time zone. So if I go in here, set your time zone to the one that is the same as cal.com. I got a few errors if I didn't do that. So put in Australia, or put in whatever your time zone is. In my case, Australia, Melbourne. Put that in, and then it will just directly book into the time zone that you're looking for. Don't hesitate to schedule a call below with me if you want to discuss these AI voice agents and integrate it into your business. Whether you're a real estate agent or got any other business, we can definitely help you integrate this type of system for you.